Buy one ticket to the Loincloth Museum on Bargle Street today and get free entry for the whole year. Yes, you can visit the Loincloth Museum as often as you like and immerse yourself in the wonderful world of loincloths. Browse the many loincloth exhibits and marvel at the different shades and textures. It's a truly wonderful day out. Oh, warning, do not touch the loincloths. They haven't been washed. Ever.
All the tabletop role-playing news. We aim to amuse and we aim to enthuse. And Morris's unofficial tabletop RPG.
Hello, and welcome to Morris's unofficial tabletop RPG talk. I am Russ, aka Morris or Morris, aka Russ, and with me this week is...
Peace Coffee from the Southampton Guild of Role Players, Russ, as ever. I am absolutely delighted to be here. It's fantastic to be talking about RPGs in, just about any time, really. I've never needed an excuse to do so. But Russ, wait, we have a special guest.
Do we now?
I know. What was the chances? 3 in a row.
We've had a slew of them recently.
I know, they've all been excellent. No pressure. With us is Joshua Mendenhall from Searsword, who is going to talk to us about a very exciting game, which I believe is D&D set in pre-colonial Philippines. Is that about right, Joshua?
Yeah, that's about right. You got the gist of it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll dive into that in a lot of detail in a bit. But first of all, let's quickly dive into the week's RPG news, because we've got quite a bit of it this week, because Gen Con happened.
Yay!
When I say happened, it didn't so much happen as Gen Con Online happened in its place. Or is happening as we speak, in fact. Started yesterday and it goes on until Sunday.
Yes, I think the two of our guests on the podcast, Banana Chan and Jion Shim, are actually doing the red carpet treatment for guests as they come in.
Oh, really?
Yes, I know. They're all wearing horns, Russ. It seems horns are very this year. Very 2020. I don't know why. I suppose it must be a young person thing.
Right, what news should we start with? Should we start with some D&D news?
Oh, go on then.
So, Curse of Strahd. I presume you've heard about this.
I've heard of Curse of Strahd, yes.
You've heard of Curse of Strahd, excellent. Good. You've heard of D&D? Yeah, okay.
Yes. These are not current events for us.
So, if your original copy of Curse of Strahd wasn't enough for you, you can now get 2 separate, big, deluxe, boxed set versions.
Oh, great.
One from Wizards of the Coast,
right,
and the other from Beadle and Grimm.
Beadle and Grimm.
And they were both announced this week, presumably because Gen Con was going on. So the one from Wizards of the Coast is around about $35.
Okay.
And it comes in a coffin-shaped box.
Ooh, so edgy. Sorry.
It's called Curse of Strahd Revamped. You get it?
Yeah. The pun there, yeah.
I always like a good pun. Oh, sorry, it's $99. I apologise. It's not $35.
Russ, not when I'm drinking my water, right?
There's a little bit of a price difference.
Yeah.
You wait until we get to the Beadle and Grimm.
Yeah, but Beadle and Grimm, I'm more psychologically prepared for sticker shock. Do you know what I mean?
Well, this one, I like the idea. I've seen some people complaining that a coffin-shaped box won't fit on the shelf properly, but I do like the look of the box, to be fair.
Yeah.
And this thing... have you seen it at all?
No. It's
Okay.
It's in fact news to me, Russ.
Okay. So what you get is the adventure itself in a soft cover format rather than hard cover.
Okay.
And it's all updated with errata and, those problematic issues with the Vistani and stuff like that. All that's been replaced with more appropriate text. So it's like the updated edition that they've been promising of Curse of Strahd.
Okay.
You also get a whole bunch of stuff. So you get a 20-page booklet of monsters.
Ooh.
You get a Tarokka deck, which is the card deck.
Yes.
A DM screen, a great big double-sided poster map, a bunch of postcards, which you're supposed to use to invite your friends to the game.
Oh. That's not creepy in any way.
Which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, that is not the only Curse of Strahd boxed set you can get.
Yes, you said Beadle and Grimm.
Yes. Now this one costs a bit more.
Oof,
This
200?
one's about $350.
They're proud of their price. I'll give them that.
Yeah, it's not cheap. It's not cheap at all. But it is gorgeous. So it's a they call it the Legendary Edition.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't come in a coffin-shaped box. It comes in a standard square, rectangular box.
A cuboid, you might say.
I guess.
Yeah. It's big, though.
Yeah, so you get 17 battle maps mapping out the entirety of Castle Strahd.
Nice.
You get a canvas map of Barovia.
Ooh.
You get 60 encounter cards. You get player handouts. You get jewellery, like coins and brooches and stuff. A DM screen and some
This is so cute. I
some
cannot
finger puppets.
Yes. Oh, dear me, yes.
Clearly, you're more of a fan of the finger puppets than I am.
Okay, right. A glove puppet was a key plot point, I'll have you know, in the Curse of Strahd game that I've played. There was one acquired from somewhere, a glove puppet of Strahd, and I used that to mock my fellow adventurers when they were making what I consider to be terrible decisions, which was frequently, "Oh, I'm Strahd, I'm going to come and suck your blood."
It's not especially intimidating, though, is it?
No.
Aren't you supposed to be afraid of Strahd? Isn't that the idea?
Yeah, pretty much. He was terrified. We spent the whole thing scuttling like tiny mice from cover to cover, go, oh god. Apparently you're supposed to go to the castle really early on, and we're like, nope. And then
so you want these finger puppets, do you?
I love those finger puppets on site. They're so cute.
I mean,
and Strahd was not prepared for the glove puppet to go, oh, I'm Strahd, I'm so clever, I walk through walls, and did not like that at all, and came and smoked me. But that was good, because then that put him out in the open, so yeah.
Well, Peter, I can sell you those finger puppets for a mere $359.
What's the bargain?
Oh, I can break your heart, actually.
You also get some battle maps and an adventure and stuff of that with it, but the important part clearly is the finger puppets.
Now you're thinking.
If I can break your heart for a moment, the $359 is just for this weekend. It's going to normally be $400.
Okay.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
So you better snap it up now then.
Right.
This is on pre-order, isn't it? It's not available quite yet. Is that right?
Yeah, it's going to be out in November.
Yeah. I mean, the Beadle and Grimm stuff is gorgeous.
It is.
And they always produce really, really great stuff, but it's definitely for those people with a bit of extra cash to spend.
Who value the props and realia to really get into it.
Yeah, what's that? What's Joshua pointing at there?
The Beadle and Grimm box that I already have.
Oh, I see.
Oh, you got very nice, yeah. Oh, and Descent into Avernus.
Yeah.
So you take it quite seriously.
Unfortunately, they were a bit too pricey for me. I would like them, but I don't know. Just that. It's just. I think when you get over $100, I start really, really thinking twice about stuff.
But it's got finger puppets, Russ.
It has got finger puppets. I mean, I can't deny that it has finger puppets.
It's not coffin shaped, but they've gone for an interesting use of red on black, which I think is quite good. The Barovian eagle, turkey, whatever that is.
Turkey.
Raven.
Barovian turkey.
Raven. No, I don't know. Ravens are normally black, aren't they?
The Barovian chicken, yeah.
The Barovian deaf chicken. There we go.
So. We can now talk a little bit more about Beadle and Grimm in their Pathfinder guise, or we can stick with D&D and we can talk about Eberron. Which of those two things would you like to go on to first?
Why would you?
Both of which have an elegant segue from this point.
Well, I don't know if we can do elegant segues. I think we should talk about a third thing altogether. Now, that would be more fitting with the tone. But as Joshua's here, which would you like to talk about, Joshua?
Oh, Eberron, definitely.
Yeah,
Eberron.
There we go.
Okay.
That's an excellent choice.
Okay, so Keith Baker's brand new Eberron book.
Yes.
Hit Explorer's Guide to Eberron. Hit DM's Guild in PDF format yesterday.
Ooh.
With the hardcovers coming in about 2 or 3 weeks.
Shiny.
So if you're an Eberron fan, you really do need to rush over there and grab it straight away. So what this contains is a bunch of new... they're actually still using the word races, actually. So races. So we've got changelings, elves,
Pathfinder, so they'd be using ancestry. So I think that's Beadle and Grimm's turn.
No. The Beadle and Grimm thing is the Pathfinder thing. Different topic. Different topic.
Yeah.
So we've got an entire hardcover book, new backgrounds, new class options for the Artificer, the Bard, the Cleric, the Druid, and the Monk.
Okay.
A bunch of treasures like dragon marks and lots and lots of monsters and basically everything you would expect. And loads of player options as well, of course.
Oh, okay.
And do you know what the best news is?
Apart from more Eberron, what is the best news?
The best news is Keith is coming on our podcast in 2 weeks.
Is it?
And he's going to bring with him 3 hardcovers of Exploring Eberron.
That's not going to be like good to us, Russ. I mean,
We're going to have a little competition. So he is going to come up with 3 Eberron lore questions,
Right.
trivia questions,
Right.
which can't be easily looked up on Wikipedia or anything like that.
Right.
So it's going to be a little tougher. He's going to ask those 3 questions on the podcast, and then 3 winners will get a free copy of the hardcover,
wow. Okay.
which is pretty awesome.
Like, it's like 1,000... I'm getting like psychic echoes of 1,000 like excited listeners all squealing at once, just echoing up and down the timeline. Yeah.
I don't know how difficult these questions are going to be. We're going to find out, I guess.
Well, Keith Baker, I imagine, can probably set some pretty difficult questions.
Well, you know, if anyone knows obscure Eberron stuff, it's going to be Keith.
It's true. Yeah. Okay. So that's super exciting. Wow. What a giveaway.
Okay. Let's switch back to Beadle and Grimm and let's talk about Pathfinder for a moment, shall we? Because Beadle and Grimm have joined forces with Pathfinder,
Yes.
and they are creating some character chronicles.
What's the character chronicle?
So, as far as I can make out, this is like a book in which you record everything about your character from birth to death. I mean, it has like a death certificate at the end and everything.
Okay.
So it's like part journal, part character sheet and character record, part scrapbook. It's got all the rules references from the core rule books that you're likely to need for that particular character. So you get like a complete Fighter's Chronicle or a complete Rogues or a complete Wizards, and it has all the information you need. So it's a proper thick book.
Is this a Kickstarter it's bringing it out?
It will be coming to Kickstarter, later this year, and it's going to be Beadle and Grimm's first Kickstarter. But they have provided a whole bunch of preview shots, the character sheets, and the interior contents. And I do like the death certificate, the certificate of death, which someone else. The idea is, I remember this in earlier editions of the game, although it wasn't an entire certificate; it was just an entry on the character sheet. The idea was that someone else would fill it in for you when your character died. So it's got place of death, date and time of death, cause of death. And then kindly check this box if entire party met demise during this endeavour. And then entries for quests left unfilled, valuables bequeathed to, instructions for what to do with your familiar, whether or not your death must be avenged. You know, a whole bunch of stuff.
That's important information, all of that.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I'm actually pleasantly surprised at the colours as well, because obviously your original Pathfinder 2 character sheet is a lovely shade of
Dark brown.
return brown, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a smile out of Joshua there. Have you seen the character sheet for Pathfinder 2?
I can't tell you how much I hate them.
Yes. Well, I think it's fair. It seems like such an excellent game, but by the user interface, the thing that you've got to stare at, they made so ugly. I just don't get it.
It looks vaguely like an Excel spreadsheet with colors.
It looks like a tax form, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm really channeling government stationery, and it's like anti-excitement. I just don't understand why Paizo would do such
There are plenty of fan-made character sheets out there for Pathfinder 2, though, so you're not stuck with the official one.
Yes, and being able to reclaim your withholdings and so forth for the tax year 2019 to 2020.
And this one from Beadle and Grimm, like you say, looks a lot more pleasant. It's like a nice light beige colour instead of dark brown.
You know what? It's sort of... I could be completely mad here and just going completely off base, but it sort of puts me in mind of 4th edition D&D. Like a little bit. I don't know, am I just jabbering like some sort of person who's no clue what they're talking about?
I'm not seeing it myself, but...
fair enough.
Okay.
I don't know, I just like the little...
To be fair, I can't even remember what a 4th edition character sheet looks like now. It's been so long.
Yeah, fair enough then.
It's been about 7 years since I played that game.
What do you think, Joshua? Exciting stuff?
Yeah, I mean, Pathfinder First Edition had their character portfolios that were like actual multi-page documents you could fold out and write your character stuff in. They weren't that well organized for player use. But Beadle and Grimm, from the looks of it, they've really had that consideration in mind when they make these new ones. Of making it player usable friendly.
Yeah, that definitely has a certain something to it.
Well, talking of Pathfinder and Paizo in general, well, quite a lot of companies do, but Paizo in particular has a tradition of having big hardback book launches at Gen Con every year.
Yes, which obviously is tricky to do. You can't have a big pile of books if you're doing online.
Yeah, but this hasn't stopped them. This has not stopped them. They are releasing not one book, not two books. There are 15 Pathfinder and Starfinder releases launching right now at Gen Con, sort of virtual online.
Right.
So you can go on their website and get them right now.
Right.
And that's a
lot of
15 books.
stuff.
I know.
Wow.
That's like more books than D&D 5th editions ever released, isn't it? I think.
I mean, you're saying that, but I'm not sure you're wrong, to be fair. It's like, well, I mean, we could probably count them, to be sure.
Yeah, it's not far off. So what we've got the Advanced Player's Guide.
Yes.
So
that came out already, though, to be fair. People have been having a look at theirs.
I think there's been previews of it. I'm not sure. Did it actually release?
No, it's been out. People have been getting it. It's on been on general release. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So we've got 4 classes: Witch, Oracle, Investigator, and Swashbuckler. Backgrounds, feats, items, archetypes, all that stuff. Same as the first edition Advanced Player's Guide, the same sort of thing.
Yes.
Then we got a Starship Operations Manual for Starfinder.
They got the ship combat in that.
Yeah, we've got new Starship combat rules. We've got Starship components and stuff and weapons which you can equip your ship with. And apparently the new I haven't seen it myself. The new Starship, because there's already Starship combat rules in Starfinder. But these are situation specific ones, sort of like asteroid chases or you know. So they're kind of like modular sets of rules designed to deal with very specific kind of set pieces, I think.
Right, okay. Well, I think that would have a fair bit of potentially general applicability to sci-fi games. What do you reckon, Joshua? Is that something that might be useful to you?
Yeah, actually, I have the Starfinder books on my shelf over there, and Starship Combat has always been kind of sluggish for me when it comes to Starfinder, which is unfortunate because that's like a third of the game mechanics.
Right, yeah.
But with this stuff, I'm hoping to breathe some new life into it.
Yeah, make it pop and be exciting, because I've not actually done any Starship Combat in Starfinder. What's the current state of play? Do you have like various stations and so forth?
Yeah, you have like pilot, engineer, officer, and some newer module stuff. They have science officer and some more roles. Because odds are, if you're playing a spellcaster, you have nothing to do on a starship. And unless you put points into something social, mechanical, or piloting, you can't really do much to contribute to the game.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that seems like a bit rubbish gating out people.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
swiftly on.
these 15 Pathfinder books.
Yes.
So that's those 3, and then I won't list them all, but basically we got they're not all books as well. So some of them are there flip mats. There's a couple of adventures, but this is for Pathfinder and Starfinder.
Yeah.
There's a pocket edition of the Starfinder core rulebook, a few Starfinder Society scenarios, so a whole range of different stuff.
Agents of Edgewatch, is that out or is that already out? I can't remember.
I think that's already out. Yeah, I think.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure. That's the one that they ran into a bit of hot water with, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah.
Is that the one where you basically played the police?
Yeah, it was the police-themed one. Yeah. So, they ended up issuing an apology, but they're still releasing it.
Oh, it's written and paid for. They've
it's
got to try to make something out of it, but that's that's awkward.
Yeah. Sticking with Starfinder.
Yeah.
There's a playtest just launched.
A playtest?
Yeah, it's the Starfinder Tech Revolution playtest. So I think we did actually mention it very briefly on a previous episode. So it's the one where there's the Nanosite class, where you're made up of where you deal with nanobots.
Oh yeah,
nanites.
Yes, nanites.
Yeah, nanites. That's the word I was looking for. And there's the mech combat subsystem.
Right. Okay.
So you can actually go. It launched on July the 27th. Was that a couple of days ago, wasn't it? Yeah.
Like
Was it
4
today?
days ago.
Yeah, it's the 31st today, isn't it?
Or like only about 50,000 years ago, as we measure time in
pandemic
quarantine.
time. It runs through until September the 18th, so you can download the free PDF from starflinderplaytest.com, and then you can make up some characters or mechs with the new rules, and then if you're feeling nice, you can give them some feedback from actual play, which they can actually use because it is a playtest. It's not just a freebie. It's the actual.
They're like, here are our rules for making mechs fun.
Yeah.
How about it? So yeah, that could be good.
Yeah. Yeah, although if, from my experience of playtest, basically people will open it, glance at it, and then offer some feedback without playing it, which is not a playtest.
Nice.
That's the opposite of a playtest. That's a non-playtest.
Joshua, you look like you're a man feeling that pain.
No, it's just I went to a panel at GameholeCon last year, and there was this dude there who's working in the industry for years and years and years. And he was talking about how he got a 1-star review on Amazon for one of his books. Review said, box damaged.
Yeah, that is a review of your local postal service. That is not a review of my game. Yeah, I've had those as well. It's frustrating. But
So hearing about just people who are like, I read one sentence. Here's what I think. Is
Sorry.
It does happen. It happens.
Yeah, I understand. It's okay. It's just like, yeah.
The other playtest one is they get it. They immediately house rule it without trying the rules as written, and then basically playtest their house ruled version of the game. It's like, well, thanks. That's not.
I'm glad
that's
you're
not what we
inspired
are.
to play with it, but that wasn't what I asked. Oh,
Oh well. Because with playtests, what happens is the designers are looking for some very, very specific information. Often it's numerical information. So you'll do the playtest and they'll be asking you what happened in terms of the numbers for very specific things. It's not... Playtests aren't generally asking your general impression of the game. They're saying, how many rounds did this combat last? How many characters died? You know, they're usually quite specific balancing questions, which means you have to play it as written, using the numbers as written, in order to give valuable feedback so that they can then adjust the mathematics behind the game they're writing.
Easier with computer games. Like, you don't have to rely upon people actually telling you stuff. You're like, well, here's the data.
But still, such is life. Hey, Diana Jones.
Oh, yes.
Yes, your face looks filled with excitement.
Yeah. It's okay.
What's up, Peter? What's wrong?
It's just like, I'm still bitter about it. I was blaming Origins, but actually it was Diana Jones. What can I say? I hold grudges. If you're going to say, well, a concept can win a role-playing game award, I'm like, well, come on.
Oh, Peter.
I know. It's been 2 years. I'm still bitter. It's going to
be a bad day for you.
It's going to be a terrible day for me. Go on then. Tell me what happens.
It's going to be a really bad day for you.
I'm bracing. I've got both hands on the arms of my chair.
To be fair, they've done that again. They've given it to a concept. But B, when you hear what the concept is, I think you'll forgive them.
I might. I'm not sure.
So it's not the concept of actual play this time.
Yeah.
So as you know, the Diana Jones, they're named for the the remaining piece of the Indiana Jones RPG, which is inside the sort of Perspex pyramid, which is the award statuette itself.
Yes.
And only one person or entity or convention or game or whatever wins each year. Occasionally, a concept wins. As we found out with the concept of actual play a couple of years ago. Look at your face.
Yeah. Get on with it.
Okay. So this year it went to Black Excellence in Gaming. And it called out a whole list of people.
Yes.
I think there's like 18 to 20 people on this list, not as specifically just these people are the only award winners, but these are examples of sort of excellent black creators in tabletop gaming.
Right.
And a couple of them you'll have heard of. Well, quite a few of them you might have done. Orion D. Black, who was involved with that.
Parted ways with Wizards, yeah.
Yeah. There's our friend Chris Spivey.
Good stuff.
There's Rich, I don't actually know how to pronounce his surname, but Rich Lescauflair, who's coming on the podcast next week, I believe.
Oh, Marvelous, yes.
And a lot of others.
Oh,
A whole range of them. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you on the giving it to a concept thing, but this concept is just one that I think is...
No,
you don't agree?
I'm not sure they really understand what awards are for, but okay, fine. Okay.
I don't think awards have a
Perhaps they're
reason for
just changing the
existing.
meaning of awards, and they're like, okay, we're not going to give it to a person. That's a lot of work, and we didn't get it back last time, so we're just gonna...
Yeah,
I
think what they're saying, they put a press release out with it as well, and they're basically saying a lot of black professionals in tabletop gaming history
Yes,
have been overlooked.
that's true.
And this is kind of rectifying that to an extent, because not all of these people are still in the industry. Some of these are kind of a little historical, in a sense. So it's kind of like an overdue spotlight, is the way they're...
I see, yes. Okay.
I mean, what do you think, Joshua?
Speaking as someone who is of color, it's very easy to get overlooked just because of your skin tone. You could put out something that is insanely good, but because of your skin tone, you'll just be dismissed.
Oof.
Yeah.
So you say this is a good move on the part of the Diana Jones Awards?
Trying to catch up on a lot of bad actions on a lot of people's parts.
Yeah.
Making up for lost time, basically.
Yeah. Anyway, that's that news. That's that news. So, let's move on, shall we?
Yes.
What else do we have in the news? Oh, my Kickstarter.
Oh, yes. Mythological figures and Maleficent beasts. Yes.
Yeah, Maleficent Monsters. It ends today at 11 p.m. our time today. By the time this goes out, it will have ended.
And you have missed your chance officially.
Yes.
If you're listening to our words, apart from you, Joshua, you might be able to get in, but that's it.
So as at the moment, it's just coming up on £120,000, which I think is in the region of $150,000. I'm not sure exactly.
Something like that.
And it's got about 10 hours left to go, 9 or 10 hours left to go.
Right.
So fingers crossed. See what it does in that last exciting 9 or 10 hours. 9 hours, is it? 8
Thank you
hours.
very much.
8 hours.
8 hours.
8
I
hours.
admire your ability to count the fingers. That's not too rough.
Joshua's the only person on this podcast who can count.
To be fair, I have to use my fingers. So anything past 10, I'm
Yeah, I'm there with you.
It's like, take your shoes off time. I completely understand. And like, it's a lot earlier in the morning for you as well than it is for us. Like, we've got no excuse. But yeah.
Well,
You were saying,
what will happen is, as soon as it ends, I'll get the deluge of people contacting me saying, "Oh, I missed a Kickstarter. Can I pledge now?"
Well, no, that's not how linear time works.
Well, some people do let people do that because they use a pledge manager for about 2 or 3 weeks afterwards, and then people can have late pledges. They can upgrade or do add-ons and stuff like that. But because of the way we do Kickstarters, where we send the rewards out straight away, there's no time for a pledge manager. So basically, when it closes at 11, by 6 minutes past 11, I'll have sent out the digital rewards.
Yeah.
First thing on Monday morning, I'm,
on the email, getting the order placed.
I'm ordering the print run. Then I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah, by Monday lunchtime, I'm done with the Kickstarter. My part of it's finished.
And you're very pleased about the whole process.
Yeah.
Reston's a big fan of Kickstarters. Well, he's a big fan of the money.
I have mixed feelings about Kickstarters. I enjoy them sometimes, but I find them to be very much a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah.
And they are extremely hard work.
Yeah, a big contributor to the grey hairs.
Yeah. What grey hairs? What are you talking about? Right. Let's find some more news, shall we?
Yes.
We might have covered
anything popped up in the world of RPGs that we should know about, Joshua?
2 things. One of them is, are you familiar with dark matter?
The concept? The scientific...
Sure, as a concept. Be proud if you know about dark matter in the real world. But no, there's
like a bit.
Yeah, there's a company called Mayhem Press that released another Kickstarter for their book Dark Matter, kind of a play and a box set and intros guide, stuff to get people reintroduced to it or a better introduction to it for the first time.
Yeah, wasn't that a TSR game in the 80s?
I was born in 93, so you tell me.
I wish people would stop doing that. Being born after me.
Again, this is not how linear time works. If nobody was born after you, this would be this would be a very weird podcast for us.
But they made a starter set recently and started and went on Kickstarter a couple of days ago. Got 38 days left to go. I'm friends with some of the guys in there, and they put a lot of time into making sure everything they put out is good. And this new Kickstarter really shows that off.
Right, so it's sort of a sci-fi based one?
Yeah, sci-fi for 5th edition D&D.
Is it launched already?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's live right now.
Ooh.
Might be worth having a look at that. Yeah, so Dark Matter. Which company makes it, do you know?
Mage Hand Press.
Mage Hand Press, of course, you said. Thank you.
Yeah.
We weren't joking about my memory. It's not good. Short term, what now? And you said you had two things.
Yeah, there's that, and then there's Dragonflight from 2 Cent Gaming.
Oh, is that related to the Anne McCaffrey books? Or something
no, it's more like, do you remember from 3.5 D&D, the Draconomicon?
Yes, I do.
Imagine something like that, but for 5th edition D&D, so you can play as dragons in your games.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Is that on Kickstarter as well?
Yeah, it's on there right now. It's got a little over 2 weeks left, and it's going well.
Nice.
Are you guys familiar of the Dragon Prince?
Oh, yeah.
I'm aware
Tales
of it.
of Xavier?
The people that did Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yes, but I work a lot, so I
not-
don't have time to watch a lot of stuff anymore.
I'm not familiar with it, but it's a Netflix series, as I understand it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's 4 seasons now? No, 3 seasons. They got promised some more. Something like that. No, it's 3rd season's out, and they've got a 4th season promised. That's it.
Well, the company Fandom, which owns D&D Beyond, and is responsible for an awful lot of those fan wikis that you see online. Because they were renamed from Wikia 2 years ago, I think. to Fandom. So they purchased the Cortex Prime system.
Oh, okay.
About
That
a
was the
year
one they
ago,
used
I
for
think it
Smallville,
was.
I think.
Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff by Margaret Weiss Productions. So they bought the system about 2 years ago, and now they're using that system to release the tabletop RPG based on is the show called The Dragon Prince, or is the show
It's
called
called Dragon
Tales?
Prince.
What's Tales of Xavier then? Is that just the name of the RPG?
That would be a subtitle.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, like it's the Dragon Prince, probably Tales of Xavier, but yeah, because Xavier is where it's set.
Right. Okay.
I could see it being, well, Xavier is one of the places it's set.
Well, if you're a fan of The Dragon Prince or Tales of Xavier, the RPG is coming from Fandom using the Cortex Prime system.
Fantastic. The elves are very Scottish, which is always exciting.
Scottish elves.
And yeah, well, Scottish elves, can't argue with that. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, like, I really enjoyed the series. Very fun to watch. I don't know if about the setting. I should look forward to seeing what comes out of it.
Okay. Oh, there's thing from you quite like duet play, don't you, Peter? You often talk about how you're interested in that.
I am interested in the concept of duet play. Yes.
Yeah. So Chaosium has released a pair of duet play adventures for Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah, interesting.
And it's in a set titled Does Love Forgive? And it's designed for one keeper and one player, keeper obviously being what Call of Cthulhu calls the GM, to be played over 1 to 2 sessions. So the first one is set in 1929 Chicago, and that's called Love You to Death. And the second one is called Mask of Desire, and it's set in 1932 New York.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I'd be quite interested to see how that goes.
Well, you can pick them up for just $5.99 in PDF, although you will need the Call of Cthulhu core rules, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that sounds pretty interesting. Have you had much experience with duet play, or like even the concept?
Nope.
I've never played duet play in my life. I've played Call of Cthulhu, but
Yeah.
I haven't played duet play before.
It's an interesting form. It's an interesting part of the form, which I'm sort of interested in. Probably more theoretically, but yeah, it's like sometimes you're like, well, yeah, might want to do it. That's
Do you
Right.
do you remember Adam? I always forget how to pronounce his name. Kerbal. Koebel.
Like, I recall he was doing that podcast and made a mess of it. It was very popular. It was not cool, but like a lot of people kept on pointing me towards his video reviews, which I I just don't like the sound of his voice very much. I didn't
Well,
really know.
we covered this a couple of months ago. So basically, during a live stream of a show called Far Verona,
Yes.
he ran a scene which involved some sexual assault
Yes.
without talking to the players beforehand.
That's,
And
that, yeah,
as you
very,
recall
very
that-
roughly, yeah.
Yeah. As you recall, that, as you'd expect, did not go well at all. And the show ended up being cancelled. The players ended up leaving the show. It was.
We're going for the classic British understatement here. Yes, okay.
Yeah. So he issued an apology and said he was going to stop GMing online for a while. But anyway, that was back then.
Okay.
Sorry.
There may be some air
I was
quotes
just going to say
somewhere.
the podcast listeners can't actually see that, but as I said apology, Joshua just did these little square quote marks.
But,
He made 2 statements where he didn't apologize.
yeah.
Anyway, so the current news, because that's not news, that's old news.
Yes.
The current news is, he's working on the upcoming Dune role-playing game for Modiphius.
Oh, okay. All right.
So he is now leaving that project.
Oh, okay.
It says in agreement between himself and Modiphius, but I suspect that it was Modiphius' decision. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, he won't be involved with the Dune role-playing game anymore.
Oh, okay.
Well, part of the bit that he worked was specifically about the best practices of game masters.
Right, yes. I can see
So,
why that
it's-
part of this
yeah.
privilege might have taken like a major hit.
Yeah, exactly. So they're not even going to use the work that he's done because he has already written it. So they're not going to use the work that he's done. He's going to replace his work with a team of a small team of diverse writers
Yeah.
that include women and people of colour.
Okay, good. Yeah. Well, that probably make it a bit stronger, and good practice for games masters is something I think, really could see a bit more of.
Yeah. Right. I think that is it for the news.
Ah, well, that was a lot of news we've had there.
That was quite a lot of news. I mean, there's a whole bunch of little news, like the odd adventure released for the Alien RPG, and because it's Gen Con, there's so much of it. I don't think there's much shocking just like listing every single thing that's been released this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's tons and tons and tons of it.
Yes.
But that's the big news for the week, I think.
Yeah.
It's time to play our favorite game. It's time to play the game. Our favorite game in all the world. Guess the Kickstarter from just the name.
Sounds good. All right. Brass, is it time for
Yes.
our favourite game in all the world?
I think it might be our favourite game in all the world. The game where I read out the name of a Kickstarter and you guess what it is from just the name.
Oh, let's put my
So-
character sheet away then. Okay.
So I'm looking at Egg Embry's column as usual
Whoever this is. Right.
for this game. So the first item on the list, these are the ones that I'm not going to use because I can't for obvious reasons. So the first one is Jangsha Blood in the Banquet Hall. Obviously
Yes.
I can't do that one because they were on the podcast this week. And if
That's
you
fair.
couldn't work out what that was after having spoken to them for an hour about it.
Oh, it's a really good name as well. It's like, I'm really gutted it didn't come up. Because
Well,
I'd be
again,
like,
with your memory, maybe you have
I
forgotten
know
all
what
about it, Peter. I
Jangsha
don't
is.
know.
If you don't have a hopping vampire hopping around, like, causing trouble, and it's called Banquets of Blood, it's like, I would actually be able to get that one.
Yeah.
That's a good name.
We've also got a dozen frightening rumours for use with fantasy RPGs from Philip Reed. Again, not really much use for this game because it's so obvious what it is.
Which is a good thing. It's like, yeah, you're like, okay, I know what I'm getting.
Okay, so I do have a couple then. I do have a couple. So, Joshua, are you familiar with the game?
No.
Right, so let's have Peter going first, and you'll see how it's done or not done.
Wait,
as the
you've
case
heard
may
the
be.
titles, that's the rules recap. Russ is going to read out the name of the Kickstarter, I'm going to guess what it is based on that name. And the fact that it's an RPG, probably, unless he brings in something else, because he's a monster.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
Are you ready then, Peter?
yeah, go on then.
You don't look ready.
No, I'm not ready. Okay, come on, wait.
Okay. What is
Yeah, go on, hit me.
brass rings?
What's that second word?
Rings.
As in a circle.
Rings. Yes. Circular things. Rings.
Wait. R-I-N-G-S, not R-I-N-K-S.
Rings. Yes, rings.
Brass rings.
Like
Okay, well,
a
if-
circle thing. Yes.
Yeah, okay, so if you're going for the brass ring of victory, that's like, a shiny ring on top of a pole, and you have to climb a greasy pole to get there. That's where the expression comes from. So I suppose what it could be is it could be an exciting compilation of fairground games that you can play with your 5th edition characters. But you know what? I'm going to say that's almost certainly wrong. Obviously, it's got the word brass in, so what we could do is we could say, well, it's all about steampunk and so forth. And you know what? I'm going to say, no. So brass rings, what is that going to be about? I think this is a set of scenarios with twists to enable you to, like, have adventure seeds where you've got, like, okay, well, this is the plot, and then they put in a twist so that when you think you struck gold, you've actually just found yourself with brass. That's what I'm going for.
So you know that 1,000,000 points or whatever it was that you won last week?
And the 1,000,000 points the week before as well, yes.
Yeah, I'm afraid you've just scored minus 2,000,000 points, which has completely undermined all your effort for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But you will, the compensation is you're going to love this when you find out what it is. You should have stuck with the steampunk idea. It's a game of steampunk rodents on Saturn's rings.
I'm sorry, I must have tuned out. I thought you said it was a game of steampunk rodents on Saturn's rings.
That is exactly what I said.
Okay, that is quite cool. I do enjoy it when it's like best than I could possibly have imagined. Okay. Can you tell me more about this?
So, among the rings of Saturn and its abandoned outposts,
Yes.
many generations ago, the Forerunners abandoned the rings
Right.
and left behind the current inhabitants, the rodents,
Right.
who have built a life and a home.
Okay.
This actually looks really fun, to be honest.
I gotta say, I don't know. It's like the idea of being a rodent does appeal to me. I'm not sure why.
What's also interesting in this
You can do more scuffling and, like, I don't know, chewing through balls and like, how badly do we need this fire anyway? Sorry.
They also say they won't be selling this game after the Kickstarter.
Oh, okay.
If you get it on the Kickstarter, or you don't get it at all.
Ooh, intriguing.
This is from a company called Orcs Unlimited. Mm-hmm. And it's also like a pocket-sized game as well. It's very small and designed to fit in your pocket.
That sounds, a pocket
It does
size.
look pretty cool. You can get the PDF for just $1,
Yeah.
or you can get the printed copy for $10. That's the only 2 rewards.
But it smashed its £45 goal.
Yes.
I mean, I'm interested.
For $1, it's hard to say no, to be honest.
I mean, what is it? Just $1 to get a piece? Oh, that is good. Huh, okay. The voice actor for Dr. Crackers will reprise their role to bring you adventures. Dr. Cracker's Guide to the Rings of Saturn. Sorry, I just looked it up because I'm like, this sounds relevant to my interests. Oh, okay, this sounds very relevant to my interests. What about you, Joshua? Do you fancy being a steampunk rodent on the Ring of
I
Saturn?
already backed it.
Way ahead of you.
It's like, please. Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll probably back it. Just because it's $1, it's just really hard to say no to.
It is very hard to say no to, yeah.
Yeah. Okay then. So Joshua, would you like a try?
Sure, hit me.
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen?
You can lose 2 million points, apparently.
I swear incessantly. I mean, I don't know.
Okay. This is called The Palace of 1001 Rooms.
Palace of 1001 Rooms. I'd imagine it's like a...
I gotta say,
That sounds like a board game, almost. Like one of those tile placer board games.
So these are all RPG stuff. They're not board games.
okay.
Gosh, I'm trying to think here. I'm guessing, because 5e is really popular, if it's something about a palace with a lot of rooms, I'm going to say it's an adventure for 5e, based for D&D 5e. How am I doing?
That's exactly what it is. So what this is, I mean, you can probably, it's quite an easy one, I think, actually. It's a giant dungeon crawl for D&D 5th edition. It's actually a series of modules.
Oh, okay.
And it says it takes you from first level to, what I say, it's a possible immortality. Not entirely sure what that means.
I'm guessing there's a certain amount of procedurally generated content going on, maybe? Or
I don't know. I mean, it says every chamber is chock full of gritty detail and intriguing possibilities. And the subtitle is 1001 Ways to Die in a Dungeon.
Okay. Sounds like it's got a bit... that like, the vibe is OSR, but the system's 5th ed. I'm not quite sure those are going to go well together, but I'm intrigued.
Yeah, well, Well, anyway, I think it's safe to say that Joshua didn't score minus 2 million points there, so he has clearly won this week's favourite game in all the world. Congratulations, Joshua.
Thank you.
It's excellent. Well done.
Make sure you put that on your resume, because people will be impressed. I promise.
Captain, we're in orbit around Regulus Alpha 16.
Excellent, crewman. Read back my log.
Stardate 42, 21, 56, 85, 93, 12. Board. I might try that new strawberry truffle from the
Skip ahead, crewman.
ISA. Stardate 67, 73, 23, 98, 52, 7. We have been assigned to recover the lost Venetian artifact from the hostile Spartan homeworld. It is a delicate mission with potential for disaster. We have been sent to handle the crisis as the Union fleet's flagship.
Very good, crewman. Set a non-standard orbit.
Non-standard, sir?
It's the last thing they'll be expecting.
Well, maybe not the last thing, sir.
Well, fine. But it won't be the first thing they're expecting.
Aye, Captain. That will surprise the Blighters.
Right. So, what is the artifact we're looking for?
It's 17,000 years old, made from the last Venetian tree before their homeworld was swallowed by their sun.
Oh, good. Very well, scan for Venetian artifacts.
Very good, sir. I discovered one Venetian signature. 17,000 years old, sir.
Excellent. Beam it up.
What?
Let's beam it up. We're done here. We can be home in time for tea.
But Captain, this adventure is 265 pages long, sir.
Full of intrigue and espionage and diplomacy and an array of exotic set-piece battles, no doubt.
That's what the reviews say, sir.
Yes, sounds great. Now, beam it up and we'll get underway.
But sir,
What is it, crewman?
isn't that a bit quick?
That's right. Just pop it in the old transporter beam and we can be in the ship's bar by 2:30.
But won't that end the adventure prematurely?
Are you suggesting we deliberately choose not to use our most efficient tool?
Well, it's just that the GM spent 50 quid on the thing. We could at least try to play it through.
Fine. Are there any atmospheric disturbances blocking our transporters?
No, sir.
Random energy fluctuation, damage to teleportation circuits?
Not as such, sir.
Any battle damage left over from that fight with the 17th Ogron fleet?
No, sir. Or repent, sir. Sorry, sir.
They're not making it very easy for us, are they?
No, sir. They're not making it easy for us to not make it easy, sir.
Agreed, crewman. Okay, we failed to find any valid reason not to use the transporters to end the adventure prematurely. Any suggestions?
The GM is suggesting we make an inspiration roll, sir.
Very well, roll away, crewman.
74.9, sir.
Very good, crewman. I believe that gives us...
Yes, sir. Semi-sentient alien ooze draining the warp core.
Righto, so I suppose we can't use the transporters.
No, sir. The engineering crew is on it, and they estimate 72 hours until we can use our transporters.
How useful. I'm so glad this worked out in our favour.
Yes, sir. We've succeeded in making the task considerably more difficult.
Fantastic. Oh, well then, let's load up a shuttle and prepare for a dungeon crawl. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We just wanted to mention our Patreon. Peter, are you familiar with our Patreon?
Oh, is it patreon.com/Morris?
Yes.
MORRUS?
At patreon.com/Morris, you can find our Patreon, which is what pays for our podcast and buys us all these wonderful microphones and mixers and other little bits and pieces.
And wires. So many wires.
And all these wires. We have a load of wonderful Patreon backers at the moment. And those backers get...
We cherish you all.
Yes, we do cherish them very much. And those backers get bonus content every single week, just as a thank you for backing our Patreon.
And because they're so awesome and so quick off the mark, they also get to talk to us in our Discord channel, which is pretty good. And we sometimes even deign to answer that. But even more importantly, when we have guests coming onto the show, they have the opportunity to ask questions of those guests. And then we will pass on the questions that we think our guests will answer.
So please, if you do enjoy the podcast, head on over to patreon.com/Morris. Link will be in the show notes.
Yes.
And support us, even with just $1 a month. Every little bit helps. Shall we talk about you now, Joshua?
Oh, if we have to.
Oh, okay. Do we have to talk about Joshua? Can we talk about Joshua's game? I think that would be much more interesting.
Well, yes,
offense,
yeah,
Joshua.
I mean, fair, it is pretty
I mean, we
interesting.
can talk about you if it's. I mean, I'm interested in the game. I mean, you can talk about you as it relates to the game if you like. It's up to you, really.
Sure.
Yeah. What's it called?
It is called The Islands of Sina Una.
So I'm looking at it here, and it says it's inspired by Filipino mythos, player options, monsters, and setting for D&D 5th edition. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Marvellous. So what is it about Filipino mythos? I'm not personally familiar with it, which makes this even more interesting to me. And I understand that any given mythos you can't really summarise quickly in an elevator pitch, but what are some of the aspects of Filipino mythos that we're going to find in this book?
So in a lot of very popular mythologies in the world, like Greek or Nord or Egyptian, I guess, you pay homage to the deities because you have to. And there's just this wrathful aspect to it if you don't. Filipino mythology is based a lot in animism and community. You have deities, but they're just especially powerful spirits. In animism, everything has its own soul, has its own spirit, has its own awareness, whether it's a river or a tree or a mountain or some aspect of the sun or the moon. The more powerful thing is in nature, the more powerful the spirit is. And some of the most powerful spirits are what people would refer to as gods. But in animism, you don't just give tribute to everything so that nothing bad happens. You give it so that you can hopefully appease it to provide a benefit or to not inflict some casualty or some hardship. So you might pray to the sea for good weather or to help prevent bad weather. You might pray to a volcano to help with ash or to help or ask it not to blow up. It's not about pure blind obedience. It's about having a bond with something, having a relationship to something.
Right. So I'm looking here at some of the player options. So we've got some new classes, 2 new classes. I apologise if I mispronounce this, but I am well known for mispronouncing things.
It is your shtick.
Babaylan?
Babaylan.
Is that Babaylan? And a headhunter. Can you talk us through the 2 classes?
Sure,
there?
which one first?
Let's take them in alphabetical order, just to be contrary.
So Babaylans in real life were our spiritual and cultural leaders in pre-colonial Philippines. They were healers, medicine people who studied the spirits, communed with our ancestors or with nature, learned the art of possession, and learned a lot. They
Sort of a shamanistic vibe?
heavily.
Yeah.
And in times of war, they would often help lead warriors.
All right.
And a headhunter.
Yeah. So I'll start off with there's a problem with how headhunting is portrayed in a lot of media, where it's just the savagery. They're a headhunter, so clearly it's a brutalistic thing that's all about violence.
But it's chopping people's heads off and then preserving them and keeping them, so that does seem quite violent.
Sure. But
what's the
let's say,
background behind
let's
it?
say someone comes to your village and harms your sister in a very specific way. You, as a headhunter, listen to omens, go to that person's village, track that person down, kill them and take their head. You bring it back to your village. You send their spirit up to live with your ancestors as a form of forgiveness, because the penalty for what they did was death. But to show that you don't have a further grievance with them, you would send their spirit up to live with your ancestors as a form of forgiveness.
Okay.
And oftentimes they would use the lower jawbone as the handle for a drum.
So does the class have sort of some unique mechanical elements to it to help you portray that?
I'm mostly in charge of the narrative design for our mechanics. Yeah, I luckily work with a woman named Mackenzie Lane de Armas, who is so shockingly good at game design, it borders on upsetting how good she is at it. But I'm working on Headhunter, and yeah, there are some new unique things to it, because I have to approach this from a narrative of, in a world in a world where the most precious resource is people, and a lot of warfare is based off of not killing people, but maybe taking them prisoner, you have been trained explicitly to kill someone.
Oh, okay.
And that, no matter what, that's going to take a heavy toll on your psyche, while having to still forgive someone despite being trained just to kill. So having that in mind going into it provides a different avenue when you make the actual game design for it.
Right. So could we go back a bit? You're saying like a lot of the things don't involve killing people. Like warfare is not about killing people, it's more about taking prisoners. Is that right?
Yeah, so there were some strict rules of warfare, and part of it was a lot of stuff about no wanton killing, because people are valuable. Just as they have inherent worth, and like you can bring them back and like, you know, have them help you out in the field, basically.
Right. Okay.
But like if you have people swinging sharp and blunt instruments for hundreds of years, yeah, someone's going to die at some point.
Yeah, accidents happen, but the intent isn't to kill people. It's more
it's to claim territory or claim resources. It's not
or drive off.
Yeah, it's not inherently to destroy people most of the time, unless you're Spanish.
Interesting. This is a pre-colonial game.
No, it's
potential for bringing the...
Whenever I think about this stuff, I'm remembering the fact that Ferdinand Magellan died in the Philippines.
Right, yes, yeah. Came off second in a fight with the locals. So you got like a bunch of subclasses as well as these new classes. Yeah. I mean, I must say, the volcano domain did catch my eye for clerics. It's like it sort of leaps out at me. It's like, oh yes.
If you scroll down a bit more, there's volcano dwarves.
Volcano dwarves.
Yeah.
Why am I not really playing this?
Yes. So, how many new races are there? 1, 2, 3,
Aside
4?
from human, there's a new race or sub-race for each of the core races.
Right.
Okay.
So we've got the volcano dwarves, we've got the mangrove halflings there. What are the other ones that are in the book?
Thing off the top of my head, Balatkayo half-orcs, Umulagad dragonborn, Balate tree elves, Balate half-elves, gold gnomes, and Carabao tiefling.
That's a gold gnome?
Gold gnome.
Okay.
So, gold...
They're a golden gnome, or they're known like gold?
So it's more a thing of like, gnomes are known to inherently tinker with stuff and work with precious objects. Gold was super plentiful in the Philippines.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you imagine like how in fantasy games, there's tons of iron, but people really have a lot of value on gold. Iron was a very precious resource, and gold being so plentiful was just, it's there.
Yeah, it just makes stuff out of it.
Yeah, we had
jewelry and
gold weavers who would turn gold into thread.
Right.
Because it was just so plentiful.
Oh, favourite bundle.
I wonder if Dragonlance got some of its ideas from that, because they've got the same setup, haven't they? Where gold is no longer valuable, and it's iron and steel that are valuable instead.
Maybe. I think they were probably leaning more into the, like, gold existed at the same time and was the currency, but it was just like, well, actually, we need iron for swords, which is why iron coin became very valuable. But yeah.
Yeah. So we've got some rules for boat combat as well.
So Ghost of Saltmarsh came out, and it treated boats as creatures. They have sections on them that have their own hit point values. They have their own strength, dexterity, and it's if you try and use those rules for like a rowboat, it doesn't really translate well. So we have boat rules where the boat is treated as a piece of equipment, and pared down boat rules for using those kind of boats for combat.
Yeah. I mean, so it's like, what's could you tell us a bit more about the style of the boats? Because we don't know a lot.
Sure. So the first thing that the Spaniards noticed when they came to the Philippines was how much expertise the locals had with rowboats. But when you think rowboat, you might think of like a kayak, something small, 1-2 people. But we had war rowboats that would house 50 plus people as take an entire group of people, of warriors for an army out to another island. But you also have people like the Bajau who would live on their boats for weeks on end without ever coming to the shore. And so it'd have to be big enough to hold all the stuff they need to survive on the water.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting.
Is there an adventure in this book?
Yeah. So in the book, we're including a small adventure. We're also having it available as a separate PDF. Cause like there's nothing more awkward than like having like a very thick book and then having like the last 10 pages you need. and having to hold that in one hand while you're reading off to your players. In case you couldn't tell, I have experience with that, and I did not like it. But we're working on some playtest stuff as well, just to release for free to people to use.
Okay. Just to get people into the setting,
Yeah.
I mean.
So I saw this was on Indiegogo, but it's a previous Kickstarter, isn't it? So it's available to buy now?
It's available for pre-order through our publisher's website.
Right. Okay. So when did the Kickstarter end? Because I see it raised about £32,000 with 700. So that was a great campaign.
Yeah.
So it ran for the duration.
$42,500.
Yeah.
Nice.
It ran for the duration of November of last year, and I didn't think much of it at the time. It just felt very normal to me. But apparently, my friends thought I was hauling ass because I went to GameholeCon to talk about it. I went to Lost Odyssey Live to talk about it. I went to a Critical Role live show and talked about it with some people at a Critter meetup. And I spoke briefly about it at PAX U, but it ended during PAX U.
Right.
Yeah, and running a crowdfunding campaign will age you a full year. Just flat out.
Believe me.
Yeah. They are so
This was
stressful.
actually born in 1992. That's why.
Yeah. I'm only 21.
It's Kickstarters. They've aged him.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, we ran on Indiegogo. It's our first time ever making something for D&D for the world. And all of our marketing was just us talking on Twitter.
Yeah.
So the fact that it funded well surprises people, but also surprises us sometimes.
If that's all the marketing you did, that's done really well.
Yeah.
Good. Because for the last month on my Kickstarter, I've been doing interviews, appearing on podcasts, I've been tweeting and Facebooking and doing ads and people, arranging for articles to appear on blogs. And, it's been a constant, solid publicity drive for an entire month. It's exhausting.
Oh, that's a lie.
But all you were doing was tweeting.
I did do some interviews.
Yeah.
Also, it's not really a complaint, but like, for the longest time, I kept my name off of Twitter. I kept my face off of Twitter. I was just some dude with like a punny screen name and handle with a skull for the icon.
Yeah.
And then I took a selfie with Satine Phoenix at GameholeCon, and I took it during a Halloween party. So the first time people saw my name and face on Twitter was when I was holding like a dorky little like pamphlet for Sina Una while having a dorky grin and while I was in a Snorlax onesie.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. No. But that's the first time people saw who I was if they didn't meet me online already.
So you'll just read the Snorlax too. I'm so glad that's not been my first image review, because that would be disconcerting.
Yeah. So can you talk a little on who's involved with the project? Who are the co-writers? Who's the publisher? Who do we have to thank for this book?
Well, the first person to thank is always going to be Lucia, who is Searsword. We all work for her, and about a year and some change ago, she was on just Twitter browsing, Twitter, and saw some pictures of some deities from Filipino mythology, and her reaction was, "Wait, we have deities?" Because like a lot of Filipino people who don't live in the Philippines. Our only way to really connect with our heritage is through food.
Right.
Yeah, because a lot of the time the older generation just don't know or will refuse to talk about any kind of culture outside of that.
Really?
Right.
Oh.
It's strange and somewhat disheartening.
That's quite sad.
Yeah. But culturally, we don't talk about this kind of stuff. So working on this book has been an avenue for almost everyone on the team to finally connect with our heritage.
Yeah. I was just going to say, there an awful lot of research going on. How did you go about doing that?
So,
And quite big research challenges as well, I would say.
we have two main researchers. One of them has been researching this stuff for the past 5 years. Other person's been researching for the past 15.
Right.
Wow.
And they have been instrumental in having this whole book work.
Nice.
The best example I have is there's this kind of gatekeeping that there is for learning about this kind of stuff, where you can't really trust Google some days. I know now that I really can't trust Google articles to tell me about Filipino mythology. But there's a book I have called The Boxer Codex. And it's a very good resource on pre-colonial Philippine culture And if I bought it on Amazon or eBay by myself, it would cost me $800.
Ooh.
My researcher in the Philippines got a copy for $20, paid $15 shipping and handling, and sent it over to me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. The Boxer Codex.
Boxer Codex.
I gotta say, I love a cool name, so I'm like halfway sold on this already.
But then I also have a copy of Damania Eugenio's Myths and a copy of Legends from her. Each one costs $24 for my researcher. He bundled up with the other book for, shipping and handling, sent it over to me. Along with a book about Filipino tattoos and the traditions in that. But I don't have like $3,000 on hand to throw that way. And that's how much it would have cost me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So finding the materials, it's just where you got contacts there, because otherwise you'd be out of luck.
I spent a month looking for a copy of a book called The Soul Book to learn one specific bit of information.
Right.
I picked up a reference to a thing called the Black River, and I was like, oh, that sounds cool. What's that? I spent a month looking for a copy of the book that had reference to it. And there's only one. Took me a month, and eventually I found a PDF copy that was given to me by a company that has them, because the people who actually own the copyright to the book have only ever had 2 print runs of the book.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The second one was 100 copies. I think the first one was like 200.
So this is very niche.
Very niche, very rare book. And I got a copy of it, and I learned about the Black River. I'm like, okay, cool, awesome. It took me a month to learn this.
I think you built a subclass around it, didn't you? Barbarians of the Black River.
Ooh, so tell us about the Black River. Now we built up the Black River. We have to know now.
I mean, you can't even throw these things into conversation and say, it's no big deal. Come on, man.
In pre-colonial Filipino myth, when you die, your soul gets sent to the Black River, and there it's anointed and helped to acclimatize to being dead and being in the afterlife, whichever afterlife you wind up in. A barbarian of the Black River is someone who worships or obeys or is a servant of the Black River. And it becomes their duty to stop people from preventing themselves from going, push people to finally go there, and slay things that are cheating the Black River of the soul.
Right, because you got to pay the Black River its due.
Or just everybody has to go eventually, and not going is unnatural.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So how much did you learn then in the process of researching and writing this book?
So much. And I'm still learning on a day-to-day basis. Some things are more cheerful than others. Some things are real hard to swallow sometimes. But overall, it's been nice to learn about a culture that I've been always adjacent to.
Yeah.
But it's been good. And it's been a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like the book, aside from being a game book and a campaign setting for D&D, sounds like it could be an invaluable resource for people who just want to learn about the sort of Filipino mythos. I mean, how much of it is sort of directly based on it, and how much of it is kind of fictionalized for the sake of D&D?
So this book originally started out as just a way for people to learn about the mythology and culture. And originally it was just going to be some monsters, a bunch of deities, the setting, and then the 2 classes. But I was talking with CEO while we were just having a meeting, and I was like, we need to have more stuff for players to be involved, because players are the vast majority of people who would buy this book.
Yes.
Very much a resource for players,
So first and foremost, it was going to be a way for people to learn about this stuff. And that's always been its original intent. As for how much of it is gamified, everything we have is in some way, shape, or form pulled from the culture and mythology, whether it's literal or fantasized. The hard part is not having the fantasy be sensationalism or lying.
Yeah.
Sure. Try
to avoid shock value for the sake of shock value.
Oh God, I hate it so much. It's been a problem with a lot of people who try and do representation for cultures they don't really understand, where they'll try and sell people on a culture, but make it like, try this new exotic land. They're so mysterious and not like you.
Yeah. I mean, D&D's got a history of that, hasn't it?
Yeah, or Until Adventures in Kara-Tur.
Yeah. So it is changing now. I think we're seeing quite a few. I mean, Chris Spivey with Harlem Unbound, for example. It's not D&D, but or Jiangsu Blood in the Banquet Hall is another example. We're seeing quite a lot of stuff there that isn't that sort of thing.
It's like exoticism for the sake of exoticism is like a bit there. It's just like, but this is a chance to have something that breaks out of the mold of the Tolkien storytelling and that is not the same reheated Greek myths and legends told over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, something that, like, it's a bit different, a bit more interesting. I mean, what's your sort of favorite monster that you might have in there?
I guess my favorite at this point would be the Burbalong, if only because I talked about it on an interview with Todd Kendrick, and it scared Todd Kendrick.
Well,
You can't go on
tell
at
us
this
why.
point. Sorry.
You got to say that and stop. So I've got there was this really scary thing.
So the Burbalong has been in D&D for a while, but it's never been the actual thing. In 1st and 2nd edition, it was just kind of this weird imp from the astral plane that could mate with an astral self. It was very concerned about its mating habit. In 4th edition, it became this kind of largest, fattish imp that could make copies of itself and make them explode. Because 4th edition was on some other shit. And in 5th edition, they're now these medium-sized, impish, devilish creatures that go around the dead bodies of gods trying to get lost information. But the Burbalong in original Filipino mythology was this creature that looked like a person, like you or me, but would have this overwhelming hunger come upon them one day. And they'll go out to the middle of the field, kneel down, and send out their spirit. Because in the mythology, if your spirit separates from your body, it doesn't die. It would just be in kind of a dormant state without any kind of aim or guidance. But the spirit would go out and it'll go to someone who's already in their home right now, possess them, and while using that possessed body, have that possessed body eat itself. And
What, like you talk self-cannibalizing?
yeah, and the Burbalong will gain sustenance from it. But if you disturbed the body that it possessed, or if you disturbed the original body, it would become enraged. It would grow these large, gaunt bat wings and chase you down.
Right. Okay.
But if you hear it flapping its wings, wherever you hear it, that's not where it is. If you hear it coming from behind you, it's not behind you.
Yeah. It's oh wow, okay, yeah.
Right, you're right. It is scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, if I'm playing along, I'm like, yeah, I've got my fighter. It's fine. Oh, what's this? Poke, poke. Why can I hear bat wings? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So where can we pick this up then? Because the Indiegogo ended a while back. So where can we get it now?
Currently, pre-orders are up with our publisher's website on thedeckofmany.com. We currently have the PDF and hardcover on pre-order, and when they're done, we'll have the DM screen and map of Sina Una available for sale and pre-order.
Fantastic. When is the actual release going to be? If we can pre-order it, when would we expect to see?
So
the
right
book?
now, because of COVID delays, and we wanted to avoid crunch with our writers and artists, we're shooting for September release for the PDF, and then 2 months after that for the hardcover.
Right. Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. And have you got plans? Because obviously you did very well with the first Kickstarter based off what sounds like really minimalist marketing. Do you have plans for an adventure path or like more source books?
We knew going in that we couldn't do like Sina Una 2 Electric Boogaloo. Yeah, but like we've very much been joking about a dating sim, but it's been pure joke. But because we're so fervent about talking about other stuff to work on, we might do something else, but that's me being purely hypothetical talking in my own opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I mean, stuff like one-page adventure seeds.
maybe.
That could be.
It really depends on how much people take to it once it's released.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about
Thank
this.
you for having me.
I really love it when we get these things which is about an entirely, a culture which I know very little about. So I get to learn stuff. It's one of my favourite things. So thank you so much for coming on and talking about this. And if you have another project in the future that you'd like to come on and talk about, we would love to have you back.
Yeah, I'm working on one right now, actually.
What are you on now?
I'm making a
Can you talk about it?
TTRPG interview book.
Oh, okay.
Where I'm talking with different, project managers, leads, devs, heads of different RPG projects to talk about the process that went into making the things they made and what their life story is.
What, the sort of behind the scenes stuff?
Yeah, because like working on this stuff, there's all kinds of things that stress you out and complicate things that you could have never prepared for.
Yeah. Well, that sounds really interesting. How far along are you with that?
I have my full interview list. I'm working on the book's aesthetics right now. I'm planning on going to Kickstarter in the next month or so.
Ooh.
Well, that's the sort of thing you should mention. Because it's pretty exciting, and we're pretty focused on like the RPG industry as well.
Yeah. So just quickly, because we are running out of time,
Yes.
can you sort of like give us an idea of some of the people that you are interviewing on that one?
I am keeping it all very close to the chest until I start doing my marketing for it. But they are names that
Start now.
most of them are names
It's
you
like
know.
Chris Spivey, isn't it? When he came on and kept saying, "Yes, I'm working on something, but I can't tell you what it is."
Guys, it's going to be so awesome. I was like, "What is it?" Yeah.
But they are names that you would by and large know, and they've all had the reaction of me going like, "There are complications in this stuff," and they're all like, "Yeah, there are."
I'm really looking forward to that. I'll keep an eye. About a month, did you say? On
Yeah,
Kickstarter?
looking should get there mid to late August to release it on Kickstarter.
Okay. Do we have a name for it?
So
Go on, you can
I
first, man.
started this book because of a shit post I made on Twitter, where I was like, I would talk together with some leads, devs, heads of TTRPG books, talk about the process, and call it "Are You Sure?" And immediately a bunch of my friends work in the industry, some of whom are larger than I'll ever be, were like, "Yeah, dude, I'm in." And I'm like, "Dude, we've talked before. You know I'm joking." And then it blew up in my face, and next I had a publisher, and it just. I can't stop it now.
Yeah, well, you're committed. Yeah. I mean, you were asked, "Are you sure?" and you said yes. So
Yeah.
Oh, it sounds great.
I have to rename it. I have to rename it something. It's way too acerbic for my taste.
No, it's perfect. Is that going to be on Indiegogo or Kickstarter? Or what's your Kickstarter?
We originally did it on Indiegogo for Sina Una just because at the time the Kickstarter anti-union stuff was going down.
Oh, right. Okay,
Yes, but now that the entire thing of that has changed, I'm comfortable now going on to Kickstarter.
Okay, well, yes. So that's the Irons of Sina Una on the deckofmany.com, available for digital pre-order and indeed hardcover pre-order. And then we've got a potential project, might be called Are You Sure? It depends on whether we can peer pressure Joshua into going with that, which will be coming to Kickstarter sometime in the next month or so.
Yeah.
Super exciting.
Right then. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Who have we got next week, Peter?
Now you're asking, I think, is it not Rich Laspoufler talking about Esper Genesis and other products
Yes, I
from
believe that
Data
is.
Alley Entertainment?
I believe that's who it is. That'll be fun.
Yes, excellent.
Yeah, that's something I'm very excited about talking about.
I'm like pretty excited about Esper Genesis still, so yeah. One of the May games that I want to play and soon.
So until then, that's me signing off. That's goodbye from me, Russ.
That's goodbye from me, Peter Coffey from the Southampton Guild of Role Players.
And that's a goodbye from me, the guest this week, Joshua Mendenhall.
Apparently I now have to read this to you. This is the official podcast of Morris's unofficial tabletop RPG news, which you can find at enworld.org. You can find show notes at morris.podbean.com or wherever you found the podcast. If you feel like they deserve it, you can support the show on Patreon. In return, you will receive exclusive bonus content. Just go to patreon.com/Morris. If you're interested in his babbling nonsense, you can follow @Morris on the Twitter. Send your emails to morrispodcast@gmail.com. Not all of your emails, just the ones you want us to see. That's it. I'm bored now. You can go away. Shoo, off you go. Goodbye. Get out of here.
I love genuinely terrifying stories. I'm not a fan of jump scares. I'm a fan of like genuinely terrifying stories. And my mother, after I started working on this book, she told me the scariest story that happened to her. And it is the most terrifying story that I have that I can tell people. But she wouldn't tell me about it for years and years and years because of cultural taboo.
Right. Is it? I'm sort of like really fascinated and want to ask, but I don't know if you'd be okay with telling
I would
it.
be more than comfortable telling it. So my mother and her family, which at the time was her mother, her father, and her grandfather, were traveling across the Philippines at one point, trying to move to a new home. along the way, they stopped at one of their faith's local temples. And, they had a home on the property for the minister's home, but they had another home across the river that was the old minister's home that they used for guests now. And so my mother and father and her mother and her grandfather stayed there for the night because, they were guests of the faith. In the middle of the night, my mom wakes up and looks over and sees her grandfather fidgeting and shaking and talking in his sleep.
Ooh,
Now,
okay.
this guy is old. This guy's already in his, mid-70s.
Yeah.
But he's just twitching and fidgeting to himself, talking this very, not his very normal weary voice. But all of a sudden, he sits up and looks at my mother and says, "Do not mess with me. I will follow you."
Ooh, okay.
My mother starts screaming because she's like 7.
Yeah.
And everybody wakes up asking her, Jing, what's wrong? Her grandfather goes like, "Oh, Jing, what's wrong?" But she's just scared out of her mind. And then, they went to sleep and she didn't sleep, but, nothing ever else happened with her grandfather that night. But, my grandfather eventually died. He got old. He died. But every year that he aged, he got a little bit stronger, but he always was bending over more and more as if he was carrying something.
Wow.
That's wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Disconcerting.
that would certainly disconcert me if it happened to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.